Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I am so grateful to be with you today. We have got an amazing guest, really, again. She is a powerhouse. I've been to events and she's like the coach to the coaches and some of the big leaders out there in the coaching space. She's done very impactful things. She takes all these powerhouse women, spiritual entrepreneurs, and takes them out on the river and have transformational deepenings and awakenings, and she helps people with money in their businesses. And oh my God, it goes even so much deeper. And she's going to help you to understand like what wealth really is all about. I imagine she's going to help you to understand more about the medicine of money. That's really interesting to me. I want to learn about that and so much more. So Kendra, it's so great to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. So good to be here with you and all you tuning in.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so great to be with you. And this is just such a perfect time for this. So Kendra helps soul-centered, high-achieving women and legacy leaders create spiritual and financial freedom, all while being true to who they are. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm all about that. Absolutely. Deeply devoted to the reclamation of the feminine as integral force of change and evolution. Her unconventional business and money approaches lead women to build 6- and 7-figure businesses grounded in timeless wisdom, purposeful contribution, and personal liberation, all while honoring the true nature of who you are and the natural rhythms of flow of nature itself. She does all that stuff. You should see her on social media. She's amazing. She facilitates sacred experiences that awaken women's natural power and sovereignty, including co-leading, quote, the river, a deep wilderness adventure passed on by her mentor. It's really an amazing experience. I've definitely heard about it a bit from other people that have done it. She is an international, highly acclaimed coach, spiritual guide, mentor, author, humanitarian, and entrepreneur. Kendra's on the cutting edge of spiritual thought and conscious business practice, blazing a new trail and wealth revolution. She has served as on the board for the Women's Business Exchange, Women's Way Red Lodge, and has been president for the Washington chapter of the International Coaching Federation. She's a personal growth junkie. Her adventures in challenging the status quo included packing her belongings in storage and traveling for 5+ years. I wasn't quite aware of that. That's amazing. She has traded her traveling laptop lifestyle for planting roots and is happily living in the beautiful hills of Boise, Idaho. All right, so let's dive into it from there, Kendra. So, we were laughing a little bit about this when we met recently, and like, we've kind of known each other, for a number of years. We've, been at an event or two, I suppose. I don't know how many, but, and chatted a bit. And yet, we haven't talked a lot, though. And yet, I don't know, you're one of those people, probably because you are pretty visible, but I always feel connected to you, but like we just haven't talked a lot. So this is awesome to have you on today. This is beautiful.
It is beautiful. Thanks again. I'm excited.
So let's talk about you. Like you, you've got a really interesting path. Like you're so ultimately committed to being in the listening and in the depth and authenticity and rawness of what's really truly present for you and for everybody. And I think you're a stand in the world for that. And I think that foundationally is what kind of stands out the most to me about you, is that you're doing that, and you're doing it specifically, it seems, for women. So tell us more about that. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Thank you for that reflection. That's really meaningful to me and consistent exactly with my values and what I set forth to create years ago. When I started business, I can't believe it. I've been in business now. I've had this thriving business for 17 years. And one of the things that was very important to me from the onset of this quest was to build a model in business and to relate to money and wealth and all the gifts that come with being on purpose in a way that felt authentic to me. I mean, one of the reasons why I left the job world is because I felt like I had to contort myself and I had to play a game and I had to like put on a certain show in order to, be pleasing and to make sure that I was trading my time for that paycheck and that sense of security, I put in quotes, that come with that mode of being. And I know really one of my core values is freedom. And I am a freedom lover. And I just knew that at some point I was like, I'm unemployable. And so, there were a variety of turning points that led to me finally taking the leap into building my own business, one of which is some travels that I did to Nigeria, Africa. And that was a real, as I said, a turning point as I came to a recognition as someone who I want to be a change agent. I want to contribute and help, transform the world. That, it's one thing to study and to prepare for that. And then it's another to be on the soil and to, get our hands dirty. And so when I was in Africa, I really had a wake up call. It's like I returned to America feeling a sense of obligation in a different way to step up and do what's mine to do. And so there was a variety of things that happened around that time. And I also lost my job, which, was a gift from the universe because I'd been like preparing to become a business person for quite some time after graduate school. And one of my hesitations in going into business and learning how to make money for myself was I didn't want to be fake. I didn't want to use marketing methods and sales strategies that I had been exposed to or that I associated with the business realm, because business was not my first passion. Changing lives is my passion. And I knew when I got back from Africa that the best vehicle that would help me touch the most lives was by being a businesswoman and supporting other women in stepping up and stepping out. So it's been quite a journey. And I appreciate you starting with authenticity, because one of my affirmations that I used at the beginning years of my business is that I get paid for being who I am. That was so important for me to preserve and elevate.
That's so important because a lot of people don't realize that that is the core, ultimately, right? Is to be who you are. And that's the most effortless, we talk about how can it be more effortless? Well, that's a core of it to me, is like to let it be more effortless. We have to just be more of ourselves. I know one of my big breakthroughs right in the beginning was when I started realizing the more you do everything in accordance of exquisitely loving yourself and your business, everything works perfectly, right?
Love
And
that. Yes.
yeah, and I gotta admit, I've gotten lost and come back again and again from that understanding, because it's easy to get slipped up sometimes. It's a challenge, it's quite a river. Yeah, the entrepreneurial journey, the spiritual journey. And in a minute, in one moment, we're like, everything's working in the business. I feel totally awake and connected and enlightened. And then something comes up that grabs the split mind that says, no, things aren't well, and you better get on it, and you better change this, you better change that. And we want to listen to that voice, but yet we let it throw us off kilter. And if we're not getting the results we want, I think what happens for some people is they start thinking either it's not for them to do this kind of work, like to be that spiritual entrepreneur, or maybe they think like, oh, I better learn the formulas. I see all the formula people out there. Maybe I'll just try to fit into that. And and then they're not really being themselves. And whether even if it works, and then if it works, it's almost worse because they actually build a business on that foundation. as you know, me and you, Kendra, even you more than me, you've been with these people. They have figure businesses, even they're broken inside. Like they're just like, oh, like they've been doing some great stuff, but it's not them ultimately. It's not the fullness of who they
Yeah.
are. It's so important. It is the great foundation. So thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that you had that realization. Like, so how did that,
Mm.
I know how it, sort of, changed things for me. It just helped me trust myself. Like, oh, I just get to trust doing whatever I want to do. And I see a lot of that in you, Kendra. So
Mhm.
tell us more about that. How did that change you once you had that realization?
Yeah, great question. And thank you for everything you said. So well
Mhm.
said. Well, one of the things that you spoke to that feels relevant to, your inquiry here is that I take an approach, have taken an approach of spiritual entrepreneurship. So as someone who really values the enrichment of becoming more of myself, being a soul who's on purpose and who's evolving and expanding. I've always leaned towards the experiences of enriching and becoming more. And so when I made the decision to, take the leap into being a businesswoman, one of the things that was really useful for me and that changed things for me quite drastically is that I decided to place the same care and intentionality that I had towards my spiritual path toward my business. And then I also started doing that towards money and finances. And up until that point, I had seen them as being very separate things or competing things or conflictual, right? Like I had to choose one or the other. And it just dawned on me. It was one of these revelations that was like, wait a second, if I am an on-purpose soul who's here in the ways that I view myself to be, which is to evolve and expand and to, what I've described, be fulfilled. I like there's nothing that isn't spiritual in that lens. And so it really helped me create clarity and confidence and ease in approaching all of the elements that come with building a business, from learning how to talk about what I do, to marketing, to creating funnels, to, leading retreats. I mean, there's just so much to it. And I was intimidated and overwhelmed and felt like, I'm just a creative person. I don't know structures and all these formulas. And so, calling forward my spiritual path enabled me to have the fortitude and the confidence and the faith that the doors would continue to open and whatever I needed to succeed in my mission would continue to reveal to me. So, I mean, gosh, you ask, what changed for me? I mean, really everything, because of what I've just described, but also, one of the keys for me becoming a spiritual entrepreneur is to become a conscious creator, to become responsible for the reality that I live and lead and manifest. And I think that's a fundamental shift that everybody needs to come to terms with at some point if we are going to live an awake and enriched path, a nourished path that reflects who we are and what we really desire to create here as individuals and collectively. And so entrepreneurship has really also been a path of healing for me because, as you said before, there are times where like whatever's changing in my inner landscape, or now the economy's changed, or what used to work, what was trending in the online world now isn't, which, by the way, is one of the reasons why it's so smart to be true to yourself, because who you are is such a sustainable part of your business model, whereas trends just come and go. So any rate, I'll just pause there because I know there's so much that we can unpack together.
Totally, totally. Oh, I love that. What you said with trends coming and going. I mean, I remember when everybody told me during when the COVID time hit, it's like, oh, everybody's getting on Clubhouse. Everybody's on Clubhouse. You know, you gotta be on Clubhouse. It's the next big wave. It's everything. And you know, and I was just like, I checked it out. I got on there eventually, but I just never bought into the hype. And I'm not saying people aren't doing great things on there, that people aren't making a bunch of money as well, or you know, doing their impact, etc. But when I got on there, it's really clear to me this is not my thing. I don't like people that can randomly just come in here and like this doesn't feel good to
Mm,
me. I don't like it here. And then we found like all of a sudden in my world, I don't hear about Clubhouse anymore, right? We don't hear people going on and on about it. Like, it was
mm,
hot for a while, you know. So many other things were hot for a while. You got to get on this new platform. It's always something new, right? Gotta get on this one. You gotta get on that one. I can't even remember all the different ones, but we
yeah.
just work well with that Periscope or whatever they call it. Hey, this one, that one. And it's like, you know, Facebook ads or whatever it is. It's like, yeah. And then there's always somebody who says, like, no, it's really good. I'm making lots of money with that. And then somebody else says, no, it's a disaster. I tried as well. Well, what's true is that it's true for some people and it isn't for others. But when you're being true to yourself, you tend to know when you're honest with yourself if that's feeling like a correct path. It is possible that we don't know sometimes, right? I'm just afraid of it. I don't know, and you know, but you have to be able to discern that, right? Like, is it fear? Is it resistance? Or is it my
Mhm.
intuition? And learning to discern that is, man, I think we undervalue the importance that we talk about intuition, but I think people mess that up a lot of times. They're like, well, it's not, I'm not feeling it, you know, it doesn't feel like me. And, but maybe it is a correct path. So I'm sure these questions come up for you, Kendra, and the people you mentor and support. Even the most tuned in people can have that question sometimes. So how can people know the difference, like
Mhm.
when they're navigating their path in their business, if something like they're like, I don't,
Mm.
my intuition feels like it's saying yes or no, and discern if they're actually picking up on their intuition, or maybe it's the resistance saying, no, don't go there. I'm curious what your take is on that.
Oh my gosh, that's such a vital question to our fulfillment and our freedom and our satisfaction in the life in this life. And you know, I like to be open and honest and say that I'm imperfectly human and I continue to grow and to refine. And this inquiry, this question that you're posing is one that I continue to live into and gain mastery in as I traverse this earthly journey. It is quite a process to, I love that you use the word discern, you know, to be able to discern and decipher, you know, what part of me is speaking right now. And there have been many instances in my life where I thought it was intuition and it was fear or resistance, or the other way around. You know,
Mhm.
am I being overly insecure? And I mean, so many times in my life I ignored my intuition because I thought, oh, I'm just exaggerating, or that doesn't really mean much. And I have led my business highly on my intuition. There are a lot of things that I've done or chosen or said no to that, you know, some other people, it would be the correct path for them, or you know, others say, oh, well, that's not realistic, right? Or that doesn't make sense. And I've really learned to like, but that's okay. You know, I know it doesn't make sense.
Right,
You
right.
know, our intuition doesn't make sense. I mean, that's just a whole different paradigm in itself in terms of analyzing and having proof and, you know, what's the evidence that we need or require to make coherent, empowered decisions. And fundamentally, for each of us to create our own freedom, our own sovereignty, is to know ourselves so well, to have the awareness of your sensations and, you know, how your body talks to you. You know, do you get whispers? Do you get nudges? I mean, we all have different ways of connecting to our source, our center, however it is that you call that. And that's a process. I think it is a part of the lifelong journey to continue to refine and to tune in and to know it, to recognize it and to act upon it, right?
Mhm.
Um, And I think this is so important, navigating these times. It will continue to be, because we've got a lot of things coming down in these years and decades to come. And we need to learn how to be good navigators and to know what is mine, what is not mine. You gave Clubhouse as an example. We've got a lot that we're going to need to contend with around what's coming with choices, with technology. And to really be able to pause. I mean, that's just one of the things that I've seen in the last couple of years in particular. People just don't even pause long enough to really feel, is this right for me? How does this fit in my body? What does my gut say? And, we live in a culture that programs and conditions us towards just giving over our power, just going along with the, what's the dominant narrative, and like, oh, okay. And I just think it's imperative that we learn how to listen and act upon what's right for me, and to be in the discomfort that naturally comes with that when it comes to relationships or places where it's like, wow, I don't feel the same as you on this. So wow, yeah, what a big topic.
Yeah. It's
and it's important in business, like, to be strategic, like you said. Oh, do I jump on that trend or not? Is this cutting edge and pioneering, and I want to be there because I want to be in the forefront and help move along my community and my mission? Or is this a distraction? Right? A lot of times, the new things, they dilute our power rather than enhance it, because we jump all around. So I think that's part of being a good change agent and leader of ourselves, our lives, our missions, is to learn the difference between what's distraction and what's, really fortifying what's mine to do. Stay on my path.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm like an experimenter, but what I found is that the less I jump into nice science sounding ideas, even if they feel connected to my intuition, like, oh yeah, I could be studying this now or taking a program or whatever. And like, even when I follow that, sometimes it's still BS in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
I always say there's a higher intuition available. Like, if I shift your energy field, Kendra, and you're getting a yes on something, if after I shift your energy field, you may resonate differently. Oh, I don't need that lesson that I'll get in that course to find out that that's not the answer, and that there was a better answer all along, but I need to take the course based on where my energy was before. And that's why I was getting yes to do it. So, to know our highest good, our highest truth, we can only do like you said, we're all imperfect. We're never going to, we're not robots. There is no right or wrong ultimately in a way, but in a way, you're learning, you're growing, you're evolving, whatever. You're becoming into an awareness of what seems to be true at the time, and the strands we're gathering through each experience, right? Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Like, okay, we're gathering all these strands, and where am I guided to next? Like for me, like I started off, okay, I'm the blockbuster. I gotta help people clear their blocks and live the life they want. And then I got into Academy for Invincible Healers, and I had certification and all this stuff. And that was great. It was a great business model, right? Okay, you do this certification, we got levels and all the fun stuff. And so that was great. And then I was just like, I was just guided like, okay, no more groups. I was all leverage. Okay, do high ticket leverage. Yeah, right. Okay, no one-to-ones or very little. And then I was guided back. Then I was guided to like, no, I want to do deep, high level one-to-one and get, just really devote myself to each client as best as possible, And so I just say all that to just illustrate too, to reflect what you're saying. I feel anyway in the stream is like we're all just like, we've got these strands, we've got these different paths to take, and sometimes we think we got it all figured out. Our head says that, and all of a sudden, boom! It's like, no, you're like, you probably didn't know you're going to be doing a lot of these things you've done, right, Kendra? You had no clue. You're like, your head thought you had it all figured out.
Yes.
But boom, you're doing like this river thing or whatever, right?
Mhm.
It's like
Oh,
it totally
totally.
changes. Yeah. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, I think we will do better in the times ahead to do as I often have done in years before. Like I actually got more in my head over time in some ways, believe it or not. Like, oh, maybe I can improve things by getting in my head more like other people. And found out, yeah, that's a bunch of BS. So, but I had to go through that experience before I found out how much BS that is. It's like, no, I don't need to read a million books. No, I don't need to take all these courses. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't need to be like everybody else. There's like this. Sometimes it's like you want to fit in with other people too. Well, if they're doing it, I probably should do it too, and that screws us up too. So there's so many ways we get thrown off track. And I do think with your stand for sovereignty, like I am, it's a co-theme for us, and the only way to be able to be in that is to know our own truth. So,
Yeah.
so that leads me to a question finally. So Kendra, it's an interview. What do you know? I should probably ask some more questions. But Kendra, um,
Mm.
how do you help? You talked a little bit about discerning with intuition, and it's a big subject. But
Mhm.
how do you help people to, take their power back, that part of it? Like, how do they take their power back when they just been like, I don't know, we're, it's almost like
Yeah.
a Pac-Man, a Mrs. Pac-Man game or whatever, like, okay, we're, there's the opportunity. Boom, 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 boom. It's like we're just robotically following these opportunities, and we're not stopping and like you said, slowing down. I love,
Yeah.
Eckhart says to hurry slowly, right? Like I love that. Like pause. I
Mhm.
was talking to somebody about that today. Like, what tools do you help people to give them to help them to be
Yeah.
able to slow down and
Mhm.
really understand like what their truth is, to take their power back, all that good stuff.
Yes. Yes. Well, in my work, my purpose is really devoted to working with women. So my study is much more nuanced, if you will, around some of the uniquenesses that come with being a woman. Having said that, I do think that there are universal aspects of just being human that are relevant. So,
Mhm.
with that said, I mean, wow, we could spend a whole day on what it takes for the reclamation of our power. I think one is to start, if you haven't already. I'm sure your listeners have already done some variation of this, but perhaps to re-up this kind of awareness and exercise, which is to watch yourself, to be the observer of your own experience and reality. Most people live in a very default, automated, programmed way. And so we're just not even aware of how often, how dominantly, we're just moving from one decision or one relationship or one moment to another, really being carried, being led by an aspect of ourselves or the climate that really is not who we are. So it is an exercise in paying attention and noticing, what is happening in my own body and my own being. I mean, we really have an epidemic of a variety that is not being spoken out into the collective. And as far as I'm concerned, one of which, we're so unhealthy and we're disembodied. We're so disconnected from the wisdom of our own body. And so for me, the reclamation, and again in particular with women, because we have wisdom that's embedded in our bodies, and there's a way of which, we're here on the earthly realm. We're here to experience the physical, the material, the embodiment. And so, paying attention to, how do I feel? What is my body telling me? How is it communicating itself to me? Is it guarded? Is it open? Is it subtle and pleasured, or is it rigid and armored? I mean, to me, this is just vital. And I think the way I have approached wealth, I mean, one of the courses I developed is called Embodied Wealth, is really having an integral, holistic approach, that we're not divided. And when we talked about, when we were just having that conversation about being distracted and, what's the latest and greatest trend or bright, shiny object, some of that's also about recognizing when we're being motivated by our ego versus our soul, and our soul is our essence. It's that deeper, wider, more rooted truth of who we are. And it doesn't get distracted by some of the same things that the ego wants. The ego wants validation. It wants to feel secure. It wants to feel like it's like, I've got fame and fortune and I'm getting stroked and validated. And, the soul it's a different realm. It's a different terrain. And you get to a point where it's like, you don't care about a lot of the things that other people care about. The final thing I'll say about this, because like I said, I mean, I love how deep and that we go together, is I think it's fundamental for us to reclaim our power in relationship to nature. And this is going to be increasingly important in the times ahead as we are bombarded with opportunities. I put in quotes deliberately because I think some of them are not that at all, to believe that we are advancing as a species by way of other mechanisms and technology. Are there places and ways that technology support us? Absolutely. I mean, hello, we're on video right now in completely different states. And those of you who are tuning in from all over the world, we get to be a part of a global network because of technology. But there are so many ways that technology has also been the demise of our inner wisdom, our inability to tap our inner knowing and inner authority. And so I think to return to ourselves, to return to our highest way of being, requires that we commune with nature, that we reorient, familiarize ourselves with the wilderness of our own being, and the wilderness that is the planet Earth and all the elements. It's just, I think it's going to become more and more paramount.
I agree. That's something many years ago. There's certain things I remember through my channeling sessions, on my own, particularly too, like when I was channeling on my own even more than I do now. And one of the things was just that basic thing, connecting with nature and the prime importance of that. And people, and it still stays with me, people meeting in small groups, not necessarily throngs of people all the time, but smaller groups, these smaller groups and the power of the smaller group, rather than just being, get millions in one all together. That's got a lot of power, but there's a different sort of connected power that we get into in those small groups. And that you can't replace nature. They can come up with all the virtual worlds in the world, and you're going to merge with AI and all this stuff. And I'll just go ahead and say it, right? Say what the things are. And, you want to be a pony today, be a pony. You want to be a rock, you can be a rock or whatever. And but it's in a way that is not connected in our spiritual level. We're completely bypassing our spiritual nature. It's not going to be in a way that connects us spiritually. It's going to be just the opposite, like we already are seeing at times, the way we might interact with some of the mediums now, right? When we start, people are, even myself in moments, I'm don't do it much like like some people do, but getting on there arguing with people online, you get all these energies, and it's like you would never say these things to people in person. That's why if I ever find myself in that place, I just back off, delete a comment or whatever, just get out of there. Or I say to the person, hey, you want to have a big conversation about this? Happy to meet with you. What what's your calendar look like? Never hear back from you, right? We're done. Now there's no more conversation, right? Nobody wants to go deeper once you say, let's quit with the back and forth bullshit. Let's actually have a real human conversation about it and really hash it out. Oh yeah, no, I don't need to do that. No, nobody wants to do that. So I recommend that to everybody like that gets tired of, you even say something like, hey, the sun's shining today. I don't believe in that sunshine stuff. I learned, like it could be, you could say anything. It could be a problem for somebody, right?
Yes.
So there's different ways to handle it, and without getting caught up or offended, or yeah, there's a lot of landmines out there. So we have to come back to our essential nature, because increasingly, at that place when you're truly connected, it doesn't bother you. If anything, it delights you. It's just like, oh, look at that happening, whatever, That's been my experience, Kendra. When we're connected, like it's so easy to deal with all those things. But that's the key, is to
Yes.
get out to nature, all those things. So yeah, what specific practices do you like? I know myself, I need to get out in the woods more, walking and stuff,
Yes.
fully in my awareness. I don't have a committed schedule or anything, but I know that's fully on board for me. What are the things about getting out of nature and other ways that we can connect
Yes.
with our essential nature?
Yes. Well, so before I
Yeah,
share this,
sure.
oh, excuse me.
Sure. Yeah. No, you're like, let me go ahead. Yeah.
Oh,
Go.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I thought there was a little delay there. Any rate, yeah. So before I say that, I just want to preface this by saying that do not let the simplicity of this, don't let it fool you. Don't let, sometimes we complicate, we overcomplicate success. We overcomplicate, and we think that if something's more sophisticated, or there's more pieces and parts to it, that it's gonna be better, bigger, better, more, right? So I want to say that, because you can hear something like, oh, reconnect with nature, and that's like, oh, that just sounds so nice, and it sounds so simplistic. But don't underestimate the power of the force of nature. I mean, really, we are all here in part because of the force of nature. I believe we are expressions of that creative force of nature, and the miracle, the magic, the power. And I would say, part of our crisis on this planet is that we are not in right relations with nature. And we have people who believe themselves to be leaders. I don't see them as leaders, but people who have carried a certain level of influence, that have a mindset and an approach of dominion over nature. And, we really need to come back into a mindset and an understanding that, nature is for us. We need to learn how to work with the forces of nature rather than over it, try to, have superiority over it. I mean, and really on some level, we never will, because nature's always going to surpass.
That's gonna win.
You know what I mean? I know I didn't want to use the word
I
win.
knew it. I knew you
Like
were saying that word.
even that like denotes that there's going to be some losers, but it's true. I mean, I used to, as someone who cares greatly for the planet, and the earth, I used to think, oh, we're going to destroy the, the planet, we're polluting the waters. And like I said, when I went to Nigeria, I was in the 5th richest region for oil, and I got to personally witness these companies just full of greed and how they extract these natural resources from the earth. And, the children, the fish were dying, and the children, they just don't have access to just basic needs. And I just be like, oh my God, but then I was like, at some point I recognized, what, nature, she'll continue to, I believe, reveal ways for us to remember the truth of who we are. I mean, if it comes to the point where she shakes all the humans off because we've just gone all crazy, maybe that's what will happen. But anyway, I know I'm getting really big and global here. So just to bring it back down to the personal and what you asked, yeah, a daily practice, being in nature. I walk every single day. I've had the blessing of doing it for almost 3 years daily with my niece. We go outside and we walk. It's part of our daily ritual. I recommend, having nature in your space, having more rocks, feathers, plants. I recommend having at least, once or twice a month where you spend even greater amounts of time in nature, out for hikes or what have you. And then, you mentioned the river. I've been blessed with immersive experiences in nature. The last couple of years, we've taken a group of women out 6 days, totally unplugged. And, we journey down the river and we camp, and we really have the ability to tune in to the frequency and, to tap into nature's intelligence. And so, choosing experiences like that, with your family, with loved ones, with peers, whatever it may be. For almost 30 years annually, I spent, a spiritual retreat, same thing. I would just be completely unplugged for 7 days, no contact. And I would go deep in, ceremony and sweat lodge. And so we need to have these practices of purification to renew and to be tapped in truly to the source of life. And nature is the fastest, humblest, it's humbling, and most fun, I think, avenue to connect. Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, we have been kind of a little bit on the global nature of things.
I know, I went
Which is
there.
fine. It's just fine. Our listeners are just eating it up. I can tell. I do want to bring you back to, because it's like, yeah, let's do all the, go this direction. Let's have that, more of this, more of that. So how does this to bring it back? Because I think everybody at some level is wondering ultimately, how does this have to do with your business and money and
Yeah.
the wealth and everything? So let's talk about that. So how does this ultimately connect to,
Yes.
say, wealth revolution? To me, like,
Mhm.
I'll give my own, take on it. Those words, it's like,
Yeah.
wealth that, who's wealthier? Let me put it this way. This image came to me as you were talking. Who's wealthier? Um, let's take it to women. The woman who's out in the forest with a bowl on her head with bananas and living out there and is in bliss,
Mhm.
and sees no problem with life and just enjoying her life with her family and nature and everything, or the woman who's got like a empire and is like has like a billion, like thousands and thousands of followers and maybe even employees or whatever, like millions or whatever, like followers and thousands of employees, has billions of dollars, but it's absolutely like life is so hard, life
Yeah.
is so difficult, is so caught up in ego and nonsense. And who is actually wealthier? Like, I don't know
Yes.
what you mean by wealth revolution, but I
Mm.
think there's something in that juxtaposition that points
Yeah.
to the wealth revolution. So I'd love for you to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just echo what you just said. So well put and articulated. I think really that's a core part of it, is really evaluating and determining for yourself, what is my definition of wealth. I do think collectively we also do need to grow into a recognition of a paradigm and a way of being of wealth that serves life. So to
Mhm.
me, a part of a wealth revolution is to recognize that anything that does harm to other people, to the planet, that is not true wealth. Anything that intervenes with, in some destructive manner, with the nature of life, to me, that's not wealth. Acquiring more and more stuff when you are still unhappy is not wealth. I've had women come to me in my business through the years who make really good money. I've worked with millionaires. I've worked with women who make 6 figures, and they're like, Kendra, I'm not really happy. I built this business, and it's like I'm like, so what? Or I built this business and I used all of these strategies that, felt like I had to pretend that I wasn't feminine, or, I felt like I was wearing a mask while I was selling, so it's like, so what? If who you are is not resourced and intact and happy and well adjusted and, all these things that peace of mind, so I think for me, part of the wealth revolution is that wealth is different for each individual. We don't need great amounts. And for a while I lived in an intentional community. I lived on 10 acres of land, and I lived in this little cottage, and I had my own fireplace that I chopped wood for and kept it very simple. And that was one of my studies, was what does it mean truly to be wealthy and rich? And I recognized that I don't need much to feel wealthy and rich. Now, do I want a lot? Do I want options? Do I want times when I travel to experience luxury resorts in some of my favorite places on the planet? Absolutely. I've created both but who I am when I come to wealth, when I come to money, is really what determines how much or how little of it I actually feel exists for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's something to unpack what you just said right there.
Yeah.
So can you explain, take that a level deeper? So I almost need you to say it again. I didn't fully like drop into my own.
Yes.
So can
So
you explain that?
yeah. So who I am as I relate to wealth, like the concept or the experience of wealth, or to money, which is a hot topic for a lot of people. Who I am in relationship to that is what determines whether or not I'm really in the experience of feeling abundant or
Yeah.
feeling prosperous.
Mhm.
So, you mentioned in the introduction, the work I've done around the medicine of money, which really is about unpacking and unlearning a lot of the influences that contribute to our dissatisfaction, our struggle around money. And so, it includes recognizing that money does not have any power over us. And most people act like a victim towards money, or have a certain level of helplessness or powerlessness when it comes to money. So when I reclaim my power, my agency, my sovereignty, and I know who I am, and I know that I influence and co-create with reality, my relationship with money is very different. I know that's an energy, it's a tool, it's a mechanism to experience life, rather than, oh, once I have the money, then I'll be free. Once I have the money, I'll finally be able to kick back and be at peace. That's an illusion, right? So that's a little bit more when you said, ooh, say more about, because it's about who I am. And that's why there are a lot of people who are quote unquote rich with money that are soul poor,
Yeah.
they feel lack,
Mhm.
millionaires, 8 figures, 9 figures, like,
Right.
wow, it's still not enough because they're
Oh
broke.
yeah.
They're broke and lack inside, and the money didn't take care of it for them.
They're still not making enough. They're saying, how am I going to make the
Yeah.
next billion? How? And literally, I mean, this is again from I don't know billionaires directly, but I know people are millionaires and things, and I've heard them talk about
Yeah.
people they know, their friends that are billionaires. Like it's never enough. They're just thinking about how they need to make the next billion, and it's not always necessarily a positive thing for them. I've definitely have clients that millionaires and all that stuff, like literal millionaires, that's making millions in their business, but literal millionaires, multimillionaires, really wealthy. And they're just, they're just the most lack-minded people I've ever met. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what's that going to cost me? Oh my God, what about this? What about that? And, it's, how am I going to, 10x what I'm making already? And it's insatiable. And it
Mm.
does create a lot of the suffering that we're seeing. Yeah, you're right. The planet's going to be absolutely, like they said, like someone said this once in like a reading, or different spiritual teachers have actually said it, many probably. Planet's going to be fine, right? We've heard that one. So the planet's going to be, I believe in that. Who may not be fine is the creatures on the planet. Who may not be fine are us, as well.
Yeah.
We may not be so well. So the planet ultimately will be probably fine, probably, who knows? But yeah, it's us. We're suffering, we're creating those problems for ourselves. I think the problem comes in with the idea of wealth consciousness when it comes to the money piece, because yeah, I think wealth has a lot more to do with the vibrancy you're in than money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you're complaining about money, then definitely money is a school for you, and you need to address it, right? That's how I see it, anyway. Is that is that how you see it, Kendra? Is like people will say, "No, I don't need money." You maybe met these people, but
Yeah.
they get to a point like, "I don't care about money anymore. I just want to be," right? Where they have
Yeah.
to spiritually letting go and everything.
Yes.
That's they go to the opposite, and then ultimately it's like, oh yeah, money is important. Let's get back into it. And maybe you've even experienced that. I know
Oh,
I've
totally.
experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's where, so I developed a course called The Medicine of Money. And that's actually how it came about, was through my own hardship and dark night of the soul with money. And I was one of those people who was creative and spiritually oriented and caring. And I had a lot of misgivings and what I felt was an inner conflict with money. It was that system. It was the system of greed. It was the system of evil. It was the system of the gaps between the haves and the have-nots. And I came from a background of nonprofit, and I do feel like I said, I'm a humanitarian at heart. You shared in my bio. So I didn't come to business or to my career from the beginning being like, how much money can I make? It was more a recognition that if I continue to struggle with money, I actually am going to continue to be a burden on some level to the system. And if I want to be a contributing factor, which I am, then I need to get right with money myself. There are parts of money as far as the system, the way it's built and the exchange, et cetera. Do I agree with it all? Am I thrilled about it all? No, I think that in the years and decades to come, the unrest and the dissolution of certain systems and institutions will mean that we need that money will, I foresee new systems of money.
Yes.
But in the meantime, we don't need broke change agents. We don't need talented spiritual healers and the people who have a lot of heart and a lot of care, being almost stubborn, if you will. That's how I was. I called myself a stubborn spiritual, like, no, I don't do money. And then I'm like, well, yeah, and then I'm also not paying my bills on time. So, and so then money becomes a distraction to your purpose. And so when I started bringing the spiritual path into money, I recognized, well, what I'm going to call forward is for money to be a spiritual agent to champion my purpose, so that I don't have to think about money. I don't have to worry about money like I used to. And I can just stay focused on what's mine to do, which I think so many of us just crave. Is just like, I don't want to be all caught up with that.
We should have done a long form interview today, 3 hours, right?
Oh my gosh, I know. Okay.
I'm tempted to ask more questions and keep talking, but I know we should probably start sort of wrapping up a little
Wrap
bit.
up.
You do have a free gift for everybody related to money. So do you want to share about it now? Yeah.
Yeah, it's called 3 Keys to Making Money Being You. And I feel like the title says it. Full circle here from where we began, how to play the money game or enter into a relationship with money, whether you want to add $3,000 a month to your income or become a millionaire. I mean, whatever it is, but how to do it, how to approach it in a way that you are being true to you. And so I'm happy to pass that along to all you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it's got to be amazing. Whatever Kendra obviously just listens to her, right? So
Mm.
You know it's going to be delicious. It's going to be amazing. If you feel her frequency and you want more of that, especially take advantage of it and connect with Kendra. And they can get that right at your website, right? Do you want
Yes.
to, what's your website again?
It's my name,
Yep.
KendraThornbury.com or Kendra E. Thornbury. I like using my middle initial. Either one will get you there. Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so Kendra, we're to the point where we're gonna do the energy scanning,
Oh,
tuning in segment.
okay.
Okay? So we're gonna just take a few minutes to do that. And again, listen and doubly everybody, this you may get a download for yourself as we're tuning in for Kendra. All right. So if you're ready, I'll just start sharing those downloads in a moment here. A moment. Wow. Okay. So like they showed me many things come in, but like the ones that got my attention the most maybe, or I see they're showing me you're like laying bricks and you're starting to build up this thing you're building, whatever you're building, and then you're like, let's get into the dirt, let's go. Like, so like we talked about, when you're talking about spiritual stuff, a lot of times what's being neglected is the idea of getting in the earth, getting in the dirt, getting down, to the foundation, into the body, like all those things. Sometimes in some spiritual teachings, anyway, some of them just the opposite, but like some of them to upper realms, 5D, but like you're like, okay, let's get it, let's get real, So that was really cool to see just how you're bringing people literally into the dirt. I think you're literally bringing them into the soil, the planet, maybe planting things or something. Like I feel
Mm.
like it's like we're building something. Like we're building it's almost like we're building like maybe a micro community or something. I just get something like being out there in nature and how people want to come together in this space. Maybe they still got their laptops like you do, everything, but like they're doing it together. So there's something about that. Let's see, what's the next download? And we'll go from there. Something about that there's because I really see the philanthropist in you, like
Mm.
so whatever level of that's already happened, like I just feel like you're such a philanthropist at your core that there's so much more, and of course that always requires what often with money. There's many ways to give in life, but I'm just saying like it wants to happen as well, perhaps through money. And I just feel like, oh, she has access to billions, and it reminds me of like a Mother Teresa sort of vibe, like come on, the billionaires of the world, you know better. Let's invest in this thing now. Come on now. And it's my voice, not your voice, but anyway. So, but that essence of like just like being very, very nice, very beautiful, very strong and rooted, and just commanding more or less these changes for humanity, the planet, etc., and letting the money come in that provides for all this, whether it's nonprofits or however it's happening, not certain, but I just feel like you're contributing to these. I hear societies or something like society comes to mind. So I'm not sure all the specifics. These are just quick raw downloads. Let's see what the next one is. One more.
Mm.
They're showing me your third eye, and they're just showing me like this, and then your energy body. It's just like there is some more portaling up into the energy that may want to happen. Let's see why they're showing me that more. Okay. Yeah, it's just like, okay, we need to keep portaling up and then portaling down. It's that sense of that. We do have experiences like, oh man, astral travel or whatever. Like we left our bodies, but it's like we keep kind of portaling up and then we keep portaling down, and it's like this, flow. It's almost like a conveyor belt of energy, and so this is your process, but I feel like the more you can invite your people you're helping into that process, maybe that's like the one of the number one things they want from you. One of the number one things. So because from that field, they can be as strong as they want to be as women or if you start serving men at some point as well, if that happens, for everybody. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's that you're a guide for that, but there's also always more for ourselves to do with that. Okay, so just a couple of downloads to share with Kendra.
Thank you.
Reflections, yeah.
I love that. Totally affirming, resonated. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. So I'm grateful to share that with you. Everybody, if you want to check out what I'm up to, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. For those of you that are spiritual entrepreneur, that are high achiever people, because I just recently looking at my roster again, I'm like, yep, they're all high achievers. So if you want to, take your business up a notch, like maybe you're already starting to work with people, but there's a lot more to level up with, then I'd love for you to reach out to me. Get a Rock Your Sacred Purpose Energy Scan consultation. It will help you understand how to rock your sales as much as anything and take everything to that next level. I'll take a look at your energy and everything. And I just have a way of helping people see those possibilities, opportunities, because I'm tuning into you, I'm alchemizing you, I'm seeing what's wanting to happen. And it even starts all happening in part during that consultation, and the opportunity to do more with me is always available, of course, but only if that's a fit for all of us. So check that out at Your Sacred Purpose. There's also a free Meditate to Make Money meditation that helps you to slow down, open up those chakras and energies, and get your connection with money and abundance and wealth, whatever we want to call all that good energy, and have you inquire about what wants to unfold through you. Like, what's your truth right now? Start meditating, making money more today. It's definitely helping out the people that are taking advantage. I got one person that told me she's been listening for about 3 years, and she attributes a lot of new success in her business simply to that one meditation. It's all for free at yoursacredpurpose.com. Meditate, make money, meditation. Okay, so Kendra, we're coming to that place of starting to close. So I'd love for you to share any of your last words of wisdom with the audience.
Oh, thank you. Well, this has just been such a delight to co-create with you, with your audience, all of you who are tuning in. And gosh, we covered a lot of ground. I think I would love to simply close by reminding you of the higher truth, help you ground in that, it is your birthright to prosper, to be wildly successful. And there are a lot of influences. There's a lot of chatter. I call them the, influences of mass distraction that try to convince you otherwise. You're here for a reason, and life is meant to support you in flourishing and prospering. So own that, claim that, allow yourself to be the embodiment and the instrument of which life flows through. So thank you for this time. It's been great, Daniel.
Oh, it's been awesome. Yeah, I'm so grateful. It's been amazing, Kendra. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for everything you shared today. And I just want to say thank you to the audience as well. Keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. The Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.